I was the wealthy young master, switched at birth by the nanny. When I showed my failing report card to the nanny, she laughed. I wore a pair of cheap white canvas shoes the nanny had bought me as a reward. A stretch limousine appeared before me. A man got out of the car. He bowed to me and said, "Young master, please come home." When I handed the report card with the lowest ranking to the fierce-looking old woman in front of me, she laughed. She patted my head. "You useless thing, here has some money to buy yourself a pair of shoes." I said, "Thank you, Mom." She kicked me. "Get lost. Just seeing you annoys me." With the $20 she gave me, I bought a pair of $15 white canvas shoes at the discount store in the west side of town. The shoes I'd been wearing for 3 years were so worn out that my toes had curled unnaturally. It took great effort to straighten my bent feet before slipping into the new canvas shoes. This old woman was Donna Miller, my mother. She often called me trash, garbage, worthless scum. But she always cursed me with a smile, because the more useless I was, the happier it made her. She paid for my education, grinning from ear to ear every time she saw my name at the bottom of the class rankings. One day, I overheard her muttering to herself, "So what if he has blue blood? He still trash my own son, is living the life meant for that rich young master." Who would thought a housekeeper's son would end up living in luxury, while the heir to a billionaire CEO has to obey my every command like a dog. I stood on the street in my white canvas shoes until a stretch Lincoln appeared before me. The mud splashed by the car stained my white canvas shoes. I crouched down to wipe my shoes, and a man stepped out of the vehicle. He introduced himself as the Sterling family's butler. He bowed obsequiously to me, and the car's pitch-black surface reflected my face, pale and gaunt with eyes dark enough to startle. He opened the car door and bowed respectfully. "Young master, please come home." I sat in the spacious car as someone poured me red wine. I'd never tasted wine before. It was bitter and astringent, but I forced myself to drink it anyway. The car's heater was turned up high, making my frostbitten hands throb with dull pain. Through the rear window, I saw the plump woman chasing after the car, shouting wildly. The car's soundproofing was excellent. I had someone crack the window slightly and faintly heard her shouting, "Ungrateful beast, after all these years, I've raised you, just leave like this." What else did she say? Oh, right, she also said, "You can't steal my son's life." She said I couldn't steal her son's life. Then where did my life go? The car window was rolled up and silence returned to the interior. The butler glanced at my muddy shoes, shook his head, and instructed the driver to pull over before taking me into a shoe store. The floor beneath my feet was smooth and pristine. Quite afraid of dirtying it, I stood stiffly in place. Ferragamo leather shoes, one pair, could buy 10,000 pairs of what I was wearing. The sales assistant asked me to sit down and remove my shoes, revealing a pair of gray socks with holes at the toes. I saw the sales assistant take a slight step back. Then I heard her let out a soft chuckle. I pushed aside the sales assistant and put on my own dirty shoes. The housekeeper asked me what was wrong. I replied in an accented tone, saying these shoes on my feet were just fine. As I walked away, I glanced at the sales assistant who had helped me try on shoes. She was tall and pale. I imprinted her image in my mind before leaving. I watched the car drive from the remote countryside to the bustling city until it came to a steady stop in front of this luxurious yet understated villa built in the most prosperous district. I felt both nervous and excited. The servant opened the door for me, and as I stepped into the lavish villa, I met my biological parents. They were impeccably well maintained, sitting on the sofa. When they saw me, there was no joy at meeting their son after 17 years apart, only a faint trace of irritation. They motioned for me to sit before them. Obediently, I called out, "Dad, Mom." My father responded with a stiff pat on my head. My mother, however, remained silent. I looked at her face, nearly wrinkle-free, and saw nothing but conflict in her eyes as she gazed at me. It wasn't until Mark descended the gilded spiral staircase that I understood the source of their agitation and hesitation. Towering and broad-shouldered, he made me look like a malnourished refugee standing beside him. He cast a disdainful glance at me before walking past and sitting intimately beside my mother. "Mom, who is this person, a beggar?" Mark had no accent. His speech was as polished as a news anchor's, occasionally sprinkled with a few London-inflected English words. To them, Mark was the child they had painstakingly raised for 17 years, golden heaven's favorite, while I was a stranger who suddenly appeared, calling them Mom and Dad, shabby, short, and thick, with a rural accent. My mother held his hand to comfort him. "From now on, he will be your older brother. You two must get along well." He paused briefly before saying to my mother, "Mom, don't worry, I'll definitely treat my brother well." Mark gave me another disdainful look. "Brother, why are you wearing such clothes? Later, I'll give you some of my old clothes to wear." My mother was very pleased and patted Mark's hand. "My son is so thoughtful." I lowered my head like a docile dog. "All right, little brother, thank you." Mark led me into his room, a space larger than the entire home I'd lived in before. His Rolex watch was stored in a dedicated display case. He smiled like a gentleman as he closed the door, then immediately lifted me up like a helpless chick. His face twisted with unrestrained fury. "You worthless, poverty-stricken trash. How dare you expect me to call you brother?" He looked so much like his mother, reminding me of when she pinned me down and branded my back, chest, and legs with a hot iron. He choked me until I could barely speak, struggling. I gasped. I heard your biological father was a murderer, sure enough, a murderer's son only knows how to solve problems with violence. He slammed me hard onto the ground, but his fist froze just before it could strike my face. You're trying to provoke me, make me hit you, so you can report me. Dream on the perfect son in our parents' eyes. Even if you show up, what can you do? What's mine stays mine. You can't take anything from me. Your life was over the day you were switched at birth. I stood up from the floor, brushing the wrinkles from my clothes. Whether my life is over or not, isn't for you to decide. I'm the one who calls the shots. I live in a guest room on the first floor, barely a third the size of Mark's room. A large tree outside the window blocked most of the sunlight during the day. My mother bought me many clothes and shoes, but none of them fit. I recall the clothes Mark wore bespoke, tailored to the millimeter. I gave Mark the clothes my mother had bought for me, and they fit him perfectly. My mother questioned me about why wasn't he wearing the clothes she had bought for me. Mark came downstairs wearing the clothes I had given him. I pointed at Mark. I thought they fit my younger brother better, so I gave them to him. My mother's face flushed red, repeatedly, whether from guilt or self-reproach. I couldn't tell, and she took me out to buy more clothes. The finest tailor personally took my measurements. Each garment was both luxurious and comfortable. As I ran my fingers over the soft fabric, I thought to myself, so this was the kind of life Mark had been living all along, yet here I was wearing clothes worth more than $20 for the first time in 17 years. I was enrolled in the best private school, placed in the same class as Mark. When I stood on stage introducing myself with my clumsy accent, Mark burst out laughing from the audience. A boy sitting beside him joined in the mockery. Hey, country bumpkin, maybe learn proper English before showing up here. We're supposed to be an elite school. Studying with someone like you drags down my standards. Classmate, your parents must have bankrupted themselves to get you in here, right? Hurry up and ask your poor mom and dad to take you back. Don't force your way into circles. You don't belong our wealthy kids' circle. ISNT, something you can buy into just by paying tuition. Mark leaned back in his chair, enjoying my humiliation. I clear my throat. If I'm not qualified to study with you all, then Mark should be the one getting taken home first. After all, I'm the real Sterling family's biological son, while Mark is just our housekeeper's child. There's no logic in sending the young master home, while the housekeeper's son attends an elite school. The words landed like a bomb, instantly setting the crowd ablaze with uproar. Mark's back left the chair as he sprang up with a bang, jabbing his finger at my face and snarling, say that again. I smirked. Your ears must be failing you, just like your mother's. Guess genetics really do matter. On my first day at school, my arrival became the hottest gossip across campus. That evening, the moment I stepped through the door, I was greeted by the sharp sting of my mother's palm, striking my left cheek. How could you say such things about your brother in front of others? Baffled, I asked my mother what I had said. She thought for a long moment, but couldn't come up with anything. My father emerged, holding the authority of this household in his grasp. Adult grievances should not involve you children. Your brother is innocent. The first don't want to hear you talking about his background at school anymore. To your mother and me, both you and your brother are our children. You're new here, and there's much you don't understand. Keep quiet about being a Sterling son. We don't need outsiders laughing at our family. My father always held a high position, and his words were always grandiose and sanctimonious. I knew that speaking further would only make me more annoying, so once again, I lowered my head obediently like a dog and said, yes, father. It was simply that they didn't want to acknowledge me as their son, ashamed of the disgrace. I understood, but understanding didn't mean I accepted at 5. The first exam results were out, and I topped the school with a score 20 points higher than the second place. Mark stared at the score sheet in disbelief, my name sitting firmly at the top. How is this possible? You good for nothing, weren't you always dead last in every exam before? I narrowed my eyes at him, flashing a sharp canine tooth with a smile. Little brother, you seem to know me quite well, don't you? Who told you I always ranked last in every exam? A panicked expression flashed across his face. Growing up in that kind of family, what good influence could you possibly have? Of course you'd be last. I looked at the thick callus on my middle finger formed from countless late nights studying under the covers with a flashlight. If I didn't rank last, how could I keep Donna at ease? I stepped closer to him, staring into his eyes. What kind of family? The one you were supposed to be in. Mark took a step back as if to hide his panic and pointed at me, shouting, I know you want mom and dad to acknowledge you, but that doesn't mean you should cheat. All eyes turned toward me, filled with looks that said, so that's how it is. Within 3 days, the news that I had cheated to get first place spread everywhere. One of Mark's lackeys claimed to have seen me stealing the exam papers with his own eyes. Mark scolded that lackey in front of the whole class. You dare report someone from the Sterling family? Do you have a death wish? He only stole the exam papers because he wanted my parents' approval. After all, he grew up in that kind of family environment. The bad habits he picked up from constant exposure will take time to unlearn. Bro, don't steal exam papers. Next time I'll plead with mom and dad for leniency this time. Mark spoke on my behalf, while people around us whispered among themselves. Even though Ethan is the Sterling's biological son, in what way could he possibly compare to Mark? Yeah, Mark is totally my dream guy. I wouldn't even let Ethan be my lapdog if he begged me. Mark has got both brains and character. What rotten luck to be associated with a cheater. Like Ethan, trash like him, doesn't he belong in our elite school? I caught the smirk playing at the corners of Mark's lips. Idiot. Can't even control his expressions. What kind of future does he think he'll have? I got summoned to the homeroom teacher's office. Do you realize cheating warrants expulsion? Even if you have the Sterling family backing you, our school won't accept a student with such terrible character. I asked her, do you have proof? She couldn't believe that a poor kid like me would dare question her authority. As an elite school teacher, her expression changed as she shouted at me, are you saying I'm falsely accusing you without any evidence? I'm calling your parents right now to see if they believe you didn't cheat. She called my mother, and half an hour later my mother stood before me and slapped me across the face. A resounding slap echoed through the office, silencing the room as a dozen pairs of curious eyes pressed against the windows. Apologize to your teacher. I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? You were still talking back. Our hand reared back for another strike, but I caught her slender wrist mid-air. The first slap, I tolerated it out of respect for you as my mother, but this one, that's too far. Fear flashed in her eyes in that instant. She realized the person standing before her didn't have to remain an obedient dog forever. I can prove I didn't cheat. Just give me another test paper. The exam questions this time were too simple. You should prepare something more challenging. After all, I'm not some gilded idiot who only knows how to eat, drink, and play around with daddy's money. 6 great, Mark clapped as he stepped forward. Brother, I believe in you. However, brother, to convince everyone, just one exam might not be enough. After all, if you used some unknown method to cheat last time, who has to say you wouldn't use it again this time? Mark, what do you suggest? Then the homeroom teacher asked. Next week, our school is hosting an English speech competition. Why not let my brother demonstrate his abilities in front of everyone? He leaned in close to me. Do you think it's okay, bro? Spoken English was my weak point. The teachers in our small town only taught how to achieve the highest test scores, with spoken English almost never being covered. And my accent and pronunciation were undoubtedly inferior to those who had grown up immersed in bilingual education since childhood. Seeing my silence, the others remarked, look, when it comes to actual performance, you're scared now, aren't you? You wouldn't even dare to compete in consecutive English contests. You must have cheated. My mother's gaze turned icy as she looked at me. You've truly brought shame to the Sterling family. If only I never answered that call from you back then. I lowered my eyes and smiled. Mother, your words wound your son's heart. Perhaps you'll regret this in the future. Mother, my mother remained silent, not even bothering to glance at her biological son. Maybe mother already regrets it. Now brother regrets bringing you back. Mark said. My mother sobbed uncontrollably in Mark's arms. How could I have given birth to such a shameless son? Mark, if only you were my real son. I watched their mother-son affection as the homeroom teacher said that if I refused to participate in the English competition, I would have to make a public self-criticism before the entire school. I replied impassively, I'll participate in the English speech competition next week. My respected teacher and my dear mother, along with my unrelated younger brother, you must all come to watch. 7. There's only 1 week left until the speech competition. For an average person, becoming fluent in English within a week is absolutely impossible. But I'm not an average person. Bloodline is a strange thing. The only good thing my parents ever gave me was a sharp mind. I've long since shed my accent. If I choose to, no one could tell. I came from a small place called Anvil. For a whole week, I hired the best tutors to coach me, sleeping only 3 hours a day and even reading English while eating. On the day of the speech competition, my father also showed up. Apparently Mark had persuaded him with great effort to come. After all, how could he miss such a perfect opportunity to embarrass me in front of my dear father and mother? The speech competition was divided into 2 parts. The first was an impromptu speech on a selected topic, and the second was a Q&A session with judges asking random questions on the spot. When it was my turn, I saw Mark's smug, self-satisfied eyes. My father looked at me sternly while my mother frowned. It was obvious they had no expectations for someone like me, a country bumpkin raised in a backward small town, unfit for polite society. Someone like Mark, dazzling with golden achievements and impeccable credentials, was the child they wanted, the heir they desired. In their eyes, I'm someone who can only achieve first place by cheating, a person ruined by being raised by others. I walked onto the stage, hearing too many people whispering below. Wouldn't he speak with a thick country accent the moment he opens his mouth? He asked, holding the microphone without starting yet. I bet he wouldn't even need to speak. He'll probably get scared and sneak off stage any moment now. Why not just admit to cheating outright? Must you humiliate yourself further? I heard Mr. Sterling is here today. To think he witness such disgraceful behavior from his own flesh and blood. What does being biological matter? If he inherits the company, it'll be bankrupt within a year. I tapped the microphone, and my voice, clear, resonant, and impeccably delivered in polished London English, reached every ear in the room. Precise, elegant, unassailable, the restless murmurs below shifted instantly. That pronunciation is better than everyone before him, and he doesn't even have that unpleasant accent anymore. Could we have actually misjudged him? This is just the first part. Anyone could reach this level by memorizing a script. After thousands of repetitions, the second part is what truly tests one's ability. Let us just wait for the show to begin. Half an hour later, my speech concluded to complete silence from the audience with only one judge applauding for me. The pronunciation is very standard, clearly the result of hard work. Next is the second part, an impromptu speech. This student, please share your vision for the future. I could feel everyone's eyes fixed intently on me, waiting for me to make a mistake. Only then could their fragile egos remain unscathed. They refused to accept that someone from a backward rural town could effortlessly surpass achievements they cultivated since childhood with financial privilege. So only if my success was fraudulent would their hearts find solace. But the effort I've put in is beyond their wildest imagination. The chandelier's light caught my eyes as I smiled, my small, canine teeth glinting faintly. I replied in what they considered the standard, elegant London accent. A tiger cannot birth a wild dog. A mongrel's teeth aren't sharp enough, its claws not deadly enough. A stray dog raised as a tiger remains a stray dog. A tiger raised among stray dogs, no matter how emaciated, can still tear them apart when it bares its fangs. In the future, I might establish a stray animal rescue center to return stray dogs to where they truly belong. I smiled at Mark, whose face had turned ashen in the audience. Good, a man stood up from the audience, dressed in a suit with meticulously styled hair, slicked back with gel. If you truly have the capability to build a stray animal rescue center, then I'll help you return those wild dogs. Thank you, Father. My father was neither a good parent nor a philanthropist. He was a businessman, a profit-driven merchant through and through. What I needed to do was make him see me as a worthwhile investment. I didn't achieve a good ranking in that day's speech competition because my answers to the judges' questions were completely off topic. Yet no one dared to question my results anymore. I remember how Mark's face twisted with rage when my father stood up to applaud and cheer for me. He began rallying the entire class to isolate me. Whenever I entered the classroom, a bucket of water would pour down from above. Tiny nails would be scattered across my chair. I'd be walking only to be suddenly knocked to the ground or locked in the bathroom overnight. Mark swaggered up to me and taunted, begged me, big brother, and maybe I'll let you off the hook. Don't even think about tattling to mom and dad. After all, I wasn't the one who hit you. I gently grabbed his collar. Little brother, do you know what I'd do if I were you? I'd make sure everyone standing in my way disappears from this world. Rather than wasting your time on childish cliques like some elementary school kid. Dogs beg humans for food while beasts tear them apart. No one in class paid me any attention except for Christine Vaughn. She was the school belle, and some said her smile resembled a gentle rose in bloom. I never noticed how her smile resembled a tender rose. Every time she begged me with a laugh to help solve problems, she reminded me of a stray kitten I once took in. That stray kitten froze to death one winter, which is why I disliked tutoring her. She always made me think of that little cat gazing at me with pleading eyes in the cold, hoping for food. I disliked tutoring her, yet I could never refuse when she came to me clutching her thick stack of workbooks. Because I knew behind me Mark was watching with eyes burning with jealousy. Mark had been pursuing Christine for nearly 3 years. The Fong family was the wealthiest in the city, an even more powerful presence than the Sterling family. I deliberately moved closer to her, tucking the stray strand of hair behind Christine's ear. Christine stiffened for a moment, but didn't refuse. A loud crash came from behind as Mark kicked over the chairs and tables, then stormed out, slamming the door. Focus. I brought Christine's gaze back to my face. The wind outside the window tousled Christine's hair as she stared at me with wide eyes. No wonder Mark liked her. But beneath those beautiful eyes, something no one else had noticed seemed to be stirring. After school, Mark beat me up. I heard the sound of bones dislocating. Click. I'm warning you, stay away from Christine. And if I don't, I asked him, Christine would never like someone like you, lowlife. Tomorrow I'm going to confess to Christine. I'll give her the most luxurious gifts at the finest hotel. She'll definitely say yes to me. Once I win Christine's heart, I'll gain the Fong family's support. By then, what does it matter if you're our parents' biological son? With the Fong family's backing, I can build an empire stronger than the Sterling family's. Then let us wait and see, I said with a laugh as I reattached my arm, then suddenly punched Mark. 9 tonight it snowed, and I crouched by the roadside, gnawing on a steaming hot dog in my hand. It's 7:58. Yesterday, Mark bragged to me that at 8 o'clock tonight, he would put on a grand fireworks display to confess to Christine, something the whole city would see. 3 minutes past, it's 8:01 now, and Christine appears before me. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, her breath coming in short gasps, the luxurious gown still clinging to her body. You're 1 minute late. Why did you call me here? I broke the hot dog in my hand and gave her half. Here, have some hot dog. I took off my coat and spread it on the ground. Sit, let us watch the fireworks. Christine glared at me, but finally sat down. In the distance, the sound of fireworks bursting could be heard. The fireworks gathered in the sky, painting it with dazzling colors. Drones formed a neat heart shape in the air with the letters S and F on either side. S loves F. Unfortunately, the lady of the hour had fled at the last moment, choosing instead to squat by the roadside eating hot dogs with me. Do you like it? I asked Christine. You don't like me. You just want to use me to provoke Mark. She said, I know, but I came anyway. Do you know why her dress shimmered with an enchanting black gold hue under the firework lights? Black threads coiled across the golden fabric. The moment I saw Christine, I caught the scent of a kindred spirit. Desire and ambition intertwine in the eyes. We are all beasts with wolfish hearts. They all say you're a gentle rose, but perhaps you're a beautiful Venus flytrap. Christine smiled. You're different from them, Ethan. You bet you be the final winner. I chuckled. Then let me congratulate you in advance for betting right. She rested her head on my shoulder, murmuring, it's so cold. I pulled her closer into my embrace. Fireworks bloomed brilliantly in the distance. Thank goodness Mark had arranged all this, or how dull tonight would have been. After Mark confessed his feelings to Christine, that day she and I began appearing together frequently. The whole school is buzzing about Christine and me dating. The entire city witnessed Mark's confession, but no one expected Christine would choose me. In an instant, Mark's confession became a joke. Because of Christine's choice, Mark and I seem to have suddenly switched places. Ethan gets good grades, has a sharp mind, and ISNT bad looking either. Plus, Mr. Sterling was there during his speech that day. Everyone present could tell the stray dog Ethan mentioned was referring to Mark. Wasn't he it? That right, Mark stole someone else's life for 17 years. And now that the rightful owner has returned, he still doesn't know his place, constantly targeting Ethan. Mark chased Christine for 3 years while Ethan won her over in just 3 months. A stray dog will always be a stray dog. That day, Mark earned himself a new nickname, Stray Dog. With the favor of the Fong family's heiress, no one was willing to help Mark bully me anymore. I inflicted upon Mark every single thing he had done to me. I kept provoking him, waiting for the moment he would bring out his ultimate weapon. Finally, after half a month, I saw Donna holding up a banner that read, Ethan, ungrateful wretch, at the entrance of her school. As soon as I stepped out of school, Donna, who had been waiting outside, rushed over and clung to my leg. My son, are you really abandoning your mother like this? I know the Sterling family is wealthy and powerful, but I've also raised you with hardship for 17 years. The day you left, no matter how much I begged you, why wouldn't you even turn back to look at me? You ungrateful wretch. More and more people were gathering at the door. Christine rushed over and asked me what was happening. Donna's eyes lit up when she saw Christine. Miss Fong, please help me persuade my son. How could he treat his adoptive mother like this ungrateful wretch? You shouldn't associate with someone like him. If he can abandon me without looking back today, tomorrow, he'll trample you underfoot for his own gain. Christine remained silent for a long while. Finally, she glanced at me, then said to Donna, who was sprawled on the ground, I don't believe you. A warmth spread through my heart. So this was what it felt like to be believed in. Not far away, a Rolls Royce was parked by the roadside, followed closely by 2 black sedans. 5 or 6 bodyguards stepped out of the cars and began walking toward us. Miss Fong, Mr. Fong requests your return home. One said, all the city's media are watching the Sterling family. Their stock prices plummeted this morning. The Fong family mustn't be associated with such people. Christine's eyes turned red. I whispered in her ear, you go first, I'll be fine. Christine was taken away. I watched the Rolls Royce drive off. Silently, I vowed, Christine, since you chose to believe in me today, I'll give you whatever you desire in the future. Because of Donna, I was expelled from school. The Sterling family's stock prices plummeted, and I knelt before my father. Is this the value you want to show me? If you can't come up with a solution, get out of the Sterling family. I don't need such an incompetent son. I stood up from the ground, meeting his gaze directly. Father, I was switched at birth. The police concluded it was Mark's biological father who did it, but his real father was sentenced to death 17 years ago for drunken murder. Mark's biological father deserved to die, but the ones who truly deserve death and prison sentences are still alive in this world, spreading vicious rumors. How could I not hate them? My father glanced at me. Are you saying the person who switched you at birth wasn't he, that murderer? Why didn't you say anything sooner? He asked me, because back then I had no proof. Now I do evidence that can destroy them with a single blow. 11. As I walked into the school, they all looked at me, their eyes scanning me up and down. The reporters on campus had been waiting for a long time. When they saw me, they immediately rushed towards me with their cameras and microphones. I stepped onto the high platform. The biting cold wind seeped into my bones. Donna was crying and shouting below, calling me her son and begging me to come home. Call me ungrateful, accuse me of having no conscience. My mother and father rushed over, their words caught in their throats. Mark faced the reporters' cameras, speaking of my hostility toward him claiming I was inferior, at least he wouldn't abandon the parents who raised him for 17 years. I laughed. What he wouldn't abandon wasn't the parents who raised him for 17 years. It was the wealth and privilege he craved. I held my phone to the microphone and the voices of Mark and Donna spilled out. What is wrong with you? How could you let him come back? Son, I don't know how he found out about this by the time I realized he had already left in the Sterling family-esque car. Son, that little bastard, didn't he tell his real parents that I was the one who switched the babies back then, did he? Impossible as long as you insist. It was your husband who did it. They have no way to prove otherwise since the dead can't testify. Good, that's good. Because of Ethan, they all call me a stray dog. I want you to go to the school these next 2 days and cause a scene, make sure everyone knows Ethan is the kind of person who abandons the family that raised him for 17 years just for his own future. But some will they even believe me? I'll hire trolls once public opinion turns, even lies will become truth. He has no match for me if he wants to fight. Below the stage, Mark's face turned deathly pale in an instant, and Donna stopped her hysterical wailing. A dead silence fell over the crowd. The first to react were the reporters. Mark, was Donna's disturbance at the school orchestrated by you? Did you do this for the Sterling family's fortune? You keep saying you can't bear to part with the Sterling's kindness in raising you, yet behind the scenes you and your birth mother are trying to tarnish the reputation of the true Sterling heir. The Sterling family's stocks have plummeted because of your actions. Tell me, is this how you repay their kindness, or are you trying to continue occupying the nest that isn't yours? My mother asked Mark in disbelief. Mark, you knew all along that Ethan was switched by that despicable woman, yet you kept it from me. I've been treating you as my own son all this time for nothing. Mom, it's not like that. Let me explain. Mark panicked. Mark, if you have anything to say, you can tell it to the police at the station with your real mother. Mark rushed onto the stage and grabbed me by the collar. It's all fake. This recording is doctored. It's been almost a year since I came to the Sterling family. Mark, doesn't he know that on my very first day in the Sterling household, I installed surveillance software on his phone? I've been provoking him, constantly waiting for this very phone call where he would initiate contact with Donna. Audio recordings may not count as evidence, but I installed a miniature camera in his bedroom. The camera captured Mark's ferocious expression when he called Donna. I seemed to smell the faint metallic scent of blood emanating from Mark, teasing my nerves. How thrilling. I leaned close to his ear. Mark the stray dog is returning to where it belongs. I kicked Mark away after a year. I no longer had to go hungry like before. My height had shot up, now slightly taller than Mark. I hired the best Muay Thai coach and dedicated an hour every day to training. Now I could effortlessly throw Mark off the platform. Donna refused to admit defeat, screaming from below, "It's all fake. It's all fake." He lying. I grinned, my sharp canine teeth glinting. I took off my jacket, revealing just a tank top and shorts underneath. This vest and shorts were newly bought before I came here. Before this, I had never worn short sleeves or shorts because my body was almost entirely covered with scars from being branded with a hot iron. Ugly, disgusting, I fully exposed these scars to everyone. Donna stopped screaming when she saw the scars on my body. Finally, I saw pity in my mother's eyes. Unfortunately, I no longer needed it. What she refused to give me before, I no longer care for now. As a child, Donna would scald my face with boiling water for taking an extra spoonful of rice. She slapped me unconscious for eating one more piece of meat. She branded me with a hot iron, telling me the Mark would let everyone know I was her dog. The first time I showed her my top scoring exam results, she tore up the report card and accused me of cheating. She threatened to cut off my pinky finger if I ever brought home such cheated grades again. When she made me attend school, I showed her my failing grades. She was delighted, letting me have an extra bowl of rice that evening. Until later did I understand why she was so cruel to me, because her son had usurped the life that should have been mine. Not content with stealing my existence, they wanted to see me beg for mercy, writhing in pain on the ground to ensure I remained their punching bag for life. The scars on my body are the evidence of their crimes. My mother collapsed in tears, repeating endlessly, I'm sorry, Mom, didn't he know? My father looked at me with complicated emotions in his eyes. I smiled back at him. After this farce concludes, my father will realize that simply by publicly declaring me as the Sterling family's sole heir, the Sterling stock will soar. I know my father won't pass up such an opportunity. I heard the wail of police sirens as officers arrived to take Donna and Mark away. Christine stood apart from the crowd, wearing her white coat. Our gazes met across the sea of people. 12. The final outcome of this farce was my father publicly declaring me, not Mark, as the sole heir of the Sterling family. Mark was expelled from the Sterling household and sent back to the shabby 50-square-meter apartment where I had lived for 17 years, while Donna was sentenced to no more than 8 years in prison. Christine and I were both admitted to a top-tier university. 4 years after graduation, I took over Sterling Corporation. In truth, I knew my father had another illegitimate son. He had originally intended to leave the family fortune to him, but during those 4 years at university, my influence had already permeated every corner of the company. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, Father, I am your son. You better than anyone know what I'm capable of. I can ensure that child lives comfortably for the rest of his life, but not a single penny of the Sterling family's fortune shall be touched by him. Otherwise, what happened to Mark will happen to him. My father had grown old streaks of silver appearing in his hair. Where I once had to look up to him, now I stood as the mountain. He had to rely on me. Now, he said agreed. I sent my parents abroad, where they will spend their retirement years. In 8 years, I built my own business empire. 8 years later, when Donna was released from prison, I made sure to find out the exact date of her release. On August 13th, I wore a pair of cheap white canvas shoes I bought from a discount store. The black Bentley pulled up in front of the shoe store from 8 years ago. Before getting out, I used scissors to cut a hole in my socks. The moment I stepped inside, someone immediately came to attend to me. I spotted at first glance the same person who had served me 8 years ago. She had risen from an ordinary employee to become the store manager, and I specifically requested her to serve me. 8 years ago, when she took off my canvas shoes and saw the socks with holes revealing my toes, she burst out laughing in front of me. 8 years later, she took off my canvas shoes again, and though the socks had another hole, she didn't dare to laugh this time. She praised me for my frugality. I smiled and lifted her chin with the foot wearing the leather shoes she had just helped me into. You may have forgotten me, but I haven't forgotten you. After all, I'm someone who never forgets a slight. She seemed to remember, something her face, turning deathly pale. In an instant, it's you. You're fired. Don't let me see you in this city again. I withdrew my foot from under her chin, and without that point of support, she collapsed onto the floor. I put on my brand new leather shoes and left through the car window. I saw her ashen face. As the vehicle headed toward the prison 8 years had passed, I was going to meet my old acquaintance. On the 13th, rain fell from the sky. I tied Donna up and threw her into the room where I had lived for 17 years. There was another person inside, Mark, bound and gagged. After Mark was driven out of the Sterling family that year, he didn't even get into college. He made a living delivering takeout, working sporadically 3 days, fishing 2 days, drying nets. 8 years had passed, and he was still living in that shabby room. A bulldog that had been starving for 3 days howled, "What do you want?" Mark glared at me. I threw a knife on the ground. Only one of you two can walk out alive. Donna grabbed the knife and lunged at me, cursing, "You beast, you bastard." My bodyguard reached out to stop her and slapped her across the face. Mark trembled as he looked at the crowd of dark figures behind me. He suddenly hugged Donna. Mom, there's still hope for my life. You 1T, live much longer, give this chance to me." Donna stared at Mark in disbelief. What did you say?" "I went to prison for you, and now you want me to take your place." She paid for my education, and every time she saw my name at the bottom of the class rankings, she'd laugh until her face hurt. Donna's eyes seemed about to pop out of her head. Mark panicked and threw Donna to the ground. I'm sorry, Mom, but I have to survive." All right, she yes, dead. Now, let me out. The switch had nothing to do with me. She was the one behind it all along. I looked at Mark kneeling before me, begging, "You really are a piece of shit." I kicked him away. The dog at the door kept barking. "Mark, my dog is hungry." The door was locked, and Mark's howls came from inside. I threw away the leather shoes on my feet and left barefoot, just like the year I arrived here barefoot. We will ultimately have nothing, but unfortunately, I am a beast with insatiable ambition. Before having nothing, I want everything. The end.